While the energies and skills of a nation's people are its vital resources, often they are wasted by unemployment and involuntary idleness. This not only deprives society of services, but also robs workers of income needed for their families and undermines their self-confidence.
As you start to get into the interview process, how do you define it further? How do you dig down into the psyche of these people so you know more than anything else that you're asking the right questions? Not that you're getting the right answers, but that you're asking the right questions.
We do that based largely on the brief that we've been given, and of course 12 years experience in what we do. We also have things like psychometric profiling, which we use at a later stage of the process to dig really down into that person's personality, because the one thing you can be sure of is that what a candidate tells you about themselves is not true. A psychometric evaluation has come along in leaps and bounds. It is now spookily accurate. The system that we use was devised locally, in fact, in DIS, and we worked very closely with the company that developed it. And it's extremely difficult these days to kid a good psychometric evaluation. The argument always was before, I've done those loads of times in the past and I know exactly what answers to give and I know how to fool it. But they're devised in such a way now that you just can't do that. And if you do try and answer the questions in the way you think they should be answered, relevant to that particular job, it will catch you out. And we're given right at the start of the report, we're given a consistency analysis, which is on a scale of 1 to 9, and 4, 5, 6, 7 are quite acceptable. But anything below that means that the candidate has tried to answer the questions in the way they think they should be answered, rather than just answering them as in the way that they believe to be the right answers. They're answering them in the way that they think should be the right answer.
As long as times are good, there'll be jobs for fellows who just barely do enough to get by. But to keep a job when the going gets rough, you need to insure your job. Make yourself so valuable your employer can't let you go.
We also have our own in-house British Psychology Society approved assessors. So it does allow us to be able to not just give a report to the client in terms of the psychometric profiling of that particular candidate, but it also allows us to be able to say to them, if you want to talk to the person that did the evaluation, you can talk directly to them and they can explain some, because sometimes in a psychometric profile there can be apparent anomalies, but they're not really anomalies once they're explained in terms of how the thing is compiled and what they're really showing you about the candidate.
How do you check people's claims on their CVs?
It's not quite as straightforward these days as it used to be, and you used to be able to ask previous companies for a reference and they would give you an honest appraisal of that particular person. These days companies are much more circumspect about what they will say, and most companies these days will simply say, yes, that person worked for us between these dates and that was their job title. And that's really all they will tell you. Some will go a little bit further and say their attendance was satisfactory or whatever. But in most cases you will get very limited information that way because of the effects of litigation and potential for legal action if somebody doesn't get a job because they received a bad reference. So it is necessary nowadays to dig a little bit deeper and to make more sort of in-depth inquiries without going into too much detail about a particular candidate to make sure that they are exactly who they say they are, and that, that there is nothing in their past that they perhaps are hiding This can happen where you get gaps in a CV, and candidate will perhaps try and explain those gaps. We've had over the past 12 years 3 or 4 occasions, I guess, where those gaps in fact were at Her Majesty's pleasure.
Really?
Yes. For various things, and
Do the candidates generally volunteer that when they know that you're on to?
no.
Really?
No, not very often. No. Normally it will. If we ask for, what was that gap in your career, it will be, I was travelling, or I was taking an extended holiday, or whatever.
Wow.